Welcome back to Season 2 of Social Seance Society. My name is Tara, and this week, Jessica and I are joined by Tammie, who by day works in costume design and by night is the creator behind The Haunted Thread and podcast co-host of Hollyweird Paranormal. In this episode, we discuss paranormal and celebrity encounters while working in the entertainment industry, final girls, and of course, horror movies. This was a great conversation to kick off Season 2, and I'm so excited for you guys to listen. So let's go ahead and dive on in. Well, Tammie, thank you so much for joining us here on Social Seance Society today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
So excited. Yay. For those that have listened to Three Spooked Girls, you might remember we did have Tammie on with us our first Spooktober. So she's back. In case anyone may have missed that or is new to their ears, can you kind of tell them a little bit about who you are and what you do on the internet?
Yeah, so I do many things. I am a content creator, paranormal researcher, enthusiast, investigator. And I also am a podcaster of the podcast Hollyweird Paranormal, where we talk about ghost stories and weird things that happen in and around Los Angeles, state of California. And I'm also the creator of a new series called The Haunted Thread, where I talk about ghost stories and build a costume connected to that specific ghost story or ghost.
I am so excited for that. Like, oh my God, this is like the coolest thing ever. I love it. So how exactly, I know you have like so many different things you do, but how did you get into the paranormal and then start into like the costume design aspect that kind of led you to doing Haunted Thread and everything else that you do now?
Everything was at the same time, to be honest. I grew up in New Orleans, so it's already a haunted city. And it was there where I went to college, New Orleans. And I was starting out as an acting student, and I made one of the best decisions I could ever make there. I got involved with the costume department. I was a work study student. I signed up to work there, and then that was it. And I wanted to be a designer. I wanted to work with costumes in theater and film. And that led to me working in theaters around the city, where I had my first experience with the paranormal, working in the haunted stages of New Orleans. And then it just kind of carried on to when I got my master's at Florida State. I started working with the film school, and then the guys that I was working with were horror directors. So they would find these old places to shoot their little short films, and these places were haunted, and things would happen on set that we couldn't explain. So I was like, man, I'm just gonna, this is just how it is. I'm just surrounded by all this, regardless of where I am and regardless of what I do. And that catapulted me to move to Los Angeles, another haunted city. And I started working in film and theater. And I started to work in a lot of these old places where I was having even more experiences. So that's what led to creating Hollyweird Paranormal. And I wanted to do more than just do lip service. I wanted to go out and investigate and talk to other people and professionals. And then I wanted to do something even more different. I wanted to start a series like, why don't I just merge what I do from my 9 to 5 with the paranormal and see what I could figure out. So one evening I was just trying to brainstorm. I took a break, doom scrolled on TikTok, and one of my favorite creators, Gunnar Deathridge, appeared on my screen. And he's a really popular fashion designer. And he does these beautiful stories under literally a minute and a half where he builds a dress for someone. And oftentimes he'll build pieces like costumes for like Chapel Rowan or other musicians and singers. And I'm like, wait, what if I were to do that with a famous ghost story? What if I were to do that for La Llorona, Marie Laveau? What if I were to build or kind of upcycle something from my personal stock in costumes and just go from there? Because that was another challenge. Costumes takes, to build one dress, it could take 80 to 200 hours. So how would I accelerate just slightly the process and create something towards the end that is very tangible and a part of a ghost story? So the Haunted Thread was born that evening. I just started writing, and I wrote the first 4 episodes, and I found my first 4 ghosts, and I'm already starting to work on the first one tomorrow.
Oh my God, that is so exciting. I love that. And it's such a unique look at these ghost stories that we know and love. So as soon as I saw you post like announcing it, I was just like, okay, selfishly, I know it's going to take you a lot of time and a lot of hours to get prepped for this, but I'm so ready for this like right now.
I
So,
was
oh my
ready at
God.
that time. I'm like, gotta do it. Something told me maybe it was the ghost in our theater, and my shop was like, girl, just do it. Just do it. It was the right
Yeah.
timing. It was perfect. Like the shop was empty. It was dark outside. I had an assistant. I'm like, can you be the ghost hands? She was like, absolutely. So it just all worked out, and was just like, let's do this. And I'm going to be working with a different team. It's not a paranormal team. I'll be working with, a selected team of seamstresses and pattern makers. I'm going to have people try to help me, put these ghosts together to help bring them back to life, I guess you can say. And yeah, it's going to be really, really cool.
I love that. And it's also really rare, I feel like, especially in our realm of type of content, that you're able to take your 9 to 5 and your other passions that are, you would think would be completely unrelated,
Yeah.
I love that. It's so cool. I do have to ask, do you have like a favorite little ghost story or little weird instance from either working in the theaters or in the shop or anything?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it was my first ghost story when I was working at Tulane University. It was with their summer stock theater. It was called Tulane Summer Lyric. And it was a beautiful, beautiful summer of performances. And this one particular program would hire people from all over the states to come in and do like these ginormous musicals. I think we did a total of 2 to 3 musicals from June to like the end of July. And it was just this constant hustle, but it was beautiful. And my first summer working there, I was hired as a costume assistant. We were working on Camelot, which is a huge musical. And we just didn't have enough stock of medieval dresses for the chorus. So on a typical New Orleans morning afternoon, it was a dark and stormy afternoon. And I was told to go to the front foyer of this theater because we just didn't have room in the shop to build these dresses, to cut them out. And so myself and another assistant, we carried bolts of fabric and patterns and scissors to the front foyer. We start working. The assistant disappears back to the shop to get more fabric. And I just have my headphones on. I'm just cutting, and something kind of catches my attention. Like I see in the corner of my eye would look like a figure standing by the banister of the staircase. And every time I looked, like he wasn't there, but I could clearly see him in my mind's eye. Like, and I could distinctly like recall what he was wearing. He was wearing black theater garb. Like he was wearing his black shirt, black pants, your theater uniform. If you're working backstage, he had black hair, and it looked like he had a black facial hair. And at first I really thought it was the director because I saw him going up and down the stairs. And when he finally came back down the stairs, the director is like, wait, but he's wearing a white shirt and jeans, and he has salt and pepper hair. So it doesn't make sense. But I kept feeling like there was someone there with me and he was watching. Like that is the feeling that I got. We go into the shop to eat, me and the other assistant. And I was like, hey, out of the blue, I was like, hey, is the theater haunted? Like just straight up. Like I had to ask. It was bothering me. Whatever I thought I saw was bothering me. And they're like, they kind of looked at each other, looked at me. They're like, oh, you saw the ghost. I'm like, what do you mean? You're like, you saw Bob. And I said, you gave him a freaking name. Like, he has a damn name. And in comes in the props director, and they're like, Tammie saw Bob. And it was this whole thing. And I'm like, oh my God, is this a joke? I really thought it was a joke. Like, is this like an initiation? You guys are like just initiating me. And they're like, no, you actually went through the initiation. I'm like, what do you mean? And they're like, Bob used to work here. The props director's like, yeah, he used to be my mentor when I went to school here. He was the lighting designer. Yeah, he was the lighting designer. And his office / lighting room was right next to the prop shop. So I would still feel him and see him there. There are times when Bob would like help me out when I'm in a bind. Like, I need to find the Dremel, Bob, can you help me? And the Dremel will fall from the shelf. So it turns out that after, I guess Bob passed away because he had cancer, and it seemed like he never left his job. He loved what he did, especially for Tulane Summer Lyric. And so I asked him, okay, all right, what did Bob look like? And she said, oh, he always came to work with his theater blacks, and he had black hair and a black mustache. And I was like, that's what I saw. Him. That was in my mind. I kept on seeing this man in my head, and I was like, well, why what was he doing? Like, why me? And they're like, well, you're new. He was probably curious, like what you were doing. And he shows himself to people that he likes. So he likes you. That's great. Cause this is your first summer. And I was like, yeah. And that was it. And other weird things would happen in the shop, not to me, but to other people that I would hear. Like that little place had a lot of stories that would circulate. And I worked there for another 2 summers before I went to grad school. But that was like my first big experience that I had in the Haunted New Orleans theater.
Oh my gosh. I love that. It's so funny. He's like the extra last little part to make sure the new hires are good to go to stay.
It's crazy. He's a hob. I'm like, what? So yeah. Mm-hmm.
On our other show, we do listeners encounters, and our favorite stories are always ones like this, where it's just the friendly, resident who worked there or lived there, whatever it is the case is. Stories like that just warm my heart so much. And it's just
especially when
so
you don't know the history. That's the craziest thing. I was just there to work. I wanted to make some money for the summer, go drink in the quarter and have fun. Then I saw Bob.
Then you saw Bob. Oh my gosh, that's like the cutest little bonus ever. Mm-hmm. When are you officially, or do you have a start date yet for like when all your projects are coming out?
I'm gearing up for Haunted Thread towards the end of March, early April. I had a little kerfuffle with some fabrics. The shipping system is more elongated, and trying to find fabric, especially for one character that I'm doing. And I wanted to make sure like this is the right fabric, that it comes from like this is the exact time period, the color. And it's always been an issue. And I'm used to it, especially working in production. It's always like, we have like a standstill because like this factory doesn't, have this one fabric. And now we have to go source another thing. So yes, I was like, yep, this is going to happen. It's definitely going to happen. So, but it's going to be fine. Like I'm pretty quick with what we have and what I'm about to put together. And I have a good team of people that are like, let me know what you need help with. Like if you want to, while you're editing, I could help like search these pieces and put them together or pin them for you. I'm like, perfect. So yeah, it takes time, but it's going to be worth it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because I didn't want to like say anything if like nothing was like gonna be out yet.
Yeah.
People be like, what?
I was making little Easter eggs, and the last video I did was on Sharon Tate, and she actually ended up being the first one I'm going to talk about. So for all your listeners and for you guys, I'm going to build a dress for Sharon Tate. And just today, just ordered like the finishing embellishments for her dress. And that one it's a simple pattern, but it was so difficult to find the fabric for her, because I'm like, no, it has to be this, because I keep on seeing her in this color and I keep on seeing her in this specific silhouette, and it has to be, this style with this fabric, and it has to be this flowy. So even though like there is the ghost of Sharon Tate that people claim to see off of Cielo Drive, but I feel like she's just another one that's all over Los Angeles. Like her murder still haunts us to this day. And her essence is always going to be around the city because this was, her home too. And her death definitely changed the vibe of Hollywood in the late 60s. So yeah. That's what I wanted to do, was to tell her story and kind of bring her back to life to honor her.
Absolutely. I think that's one too that's so widespread even for people who don't live in that area, just because of the Manson connection, Thinking about it, there's so many different facets of it. There is, of course, the obvious, like the Manson side and everything, but then you think about her side and her being in the industry and everything like that. So I love that, how multifaceted this project is. I think that's so great. I love it. And anything that highlights women, because in real time, guys, it's March when we're recording this. So yesterday was International Women's Day, but anytime it's like women focused, I love that so much. But to kind of switch gears a little bit, like I mentioned, International Women's Day was yesterday. Yeah. Who would you say is, and you can pick more than one, because I know this is a hard question, who would you say is your favorite final girl of all time, or a top 3, if that's easier?
Oh my God, Sigourney Weaver, hands down. I mean, the woman fought off aliens, and then the first one she fought off an alien and still had time to retrieve her cat. So done right over there. She is my favorite final girl. Siggy is my number one. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I love her. And the thing is too, I think people might kind of forget about her in that role, because I know for at least a lot of people I know, they don't really think of a movie like that, a movie like Alien, that has a little bit more sci-fi to it. You know what I mean? We automatically kind of jump to like slashers and things. I'm super guilty of that, because that's like mainly what I watch. It's fine. But I love her. And this is not horror or anything, but I was just even thinking too, like how well she did in the newer Avatar and like all that stuff. I love her so much as an actress. Like, I think she is so fantastic. She's so talented.
She's really sweet. I got to meet her in person when I interned in New York. Her husband, I think it was Jim Simpson. They own and run a theater called, I think it was called the Bats Theater. No, the Flea Theater, the Flea Theater in Tribeca. And her husband was a playwright. So he would write these crazy shows and I interned there and I got to meet her and she was so freaking cool. Like, I'm like, man, you just solidified, you just made my whole entire life. Like knowing that you're so cool and down to earth. She's so adorable. She was so kind and professional and she made her way like to meet all of us little interns to shake our hands to say thank you for, taking the summer to help put her husband's show up together. It was really nice.
Oh, I love
That's
that.
so
It's always
sweet.
right, isn't it? It's like the best when you do meet your heroes and they
Yeah.
actually are what you think they are. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
best feeling ever.
I know. Some of the people that worked there that went to school with her were a little like snotty. They were like, Siggy's coming. Sig. I'm like, who's that? They're like Sigourney Weaver. I'm like, I don't know.
Like I know her actual name.
Also, that's
like-
such like a, those people that like, they like name drop and they're like,
God, that was
coming,"
them.
And you're like, okay, like you're trying to imply that you're so close to her that you call her by a nickname.
I know.
It's like
I really don't care.
I also love those moments when people do that and then the person like comes in and is like, who are you again? And you're like, oh yay. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. So who would you say out of like these different areas that you've worked in? I guess this is kind of a two-faceted question. Who would be your favorite person that you've met, like a famous person or whatever? And then to go off that, what's been your favorite like theater or location that you've worked at?
God, I've worked with so many crazy people and amazing people. I think the two people that come directly to mind was Will Forte from SNL. I got to put him in a dress. And he was doing something for an event called Night of Too Many Stars by CBS. They would raise money for the children's hospital. It was like a fundraiser. And he was hired to host it and do a bunch of skits. And he was just the sweetest and very funny guy. Like he was just so down to earth. I just love it when they're just down to earth and they don't take themselves seriously. He was just great. We were just cracking jokes and walking around enjoying like the craft services. Like we were just testing out the different cheeses that were on the tables. He was really cool. He was really funny. And Selena Gomez had to have been the best one. And she was the first big star that I really worked with because she was very nice, very professional. It was for a Sears commercial because she came out, I think this was in 2009. Yeah, she was coming out with her line for Sears, her clothing line. And I got to be the wardrobe intern and I got to meet her mom, the rescue dog. And she always like traveled with her family. And that's what I loved about her. Like she always had family members that surrounded her. She didn't have weird people. And that was so cool. And then by every end of the shoot, because I worked with her a couple times, her stylist, she would take the time out to personally shake your hand and thank you. And that was so professional and so classy of her to do that. Like you could tell, like, yeah, she was raised well. And because I go to places and work in these weird like settings with weird people. I'm like, that guy was nasty. I didn't like him. I didn't like his people.
Yeah. Like, okay, I need a shower now. It's fine.
Yeah. So it was she was really sweet. I really enjoyed working with her. Yeah.
I love the spectrum of people you just listed. Like, because there's definitely people who are like, who's Will Forte? Like,
yeah. I love him. McGruber. You guys have to watch that.
He's so funny. And the character that always comes to mind for me is the character he played on How I Met Your Mother. Because he plays this like super dorky dude who just like gets a nosebleed anytime. And I'm like, he just plays it so well. He was just recently in something with like, what is her name? Amy Schumer. And it was funny because they were talking about how in an interview, she's like, I pick men that are like funny versus like the traditional like hunky man because she's like, I want women to see like that's a choice. Like you should. And I was like, I'm like, Will Forte is hilarious. Like,
yes. And that's what makes him, in my opinion, like I had by the end of that night, he was hot. Like to me, I was like, wow, I had a crush on him because of his personality. So that night I also got to meet, oh my God, what's his name? Oh, it was on the back of my head. There was another big celebrity. Oh my God. From Ocean's 11, the lead, it just slipped my head. And
Clooney or Pitt?
Clooney.
Damon?
So George Clooney was another host. So I got to work and like steam his suits and stuff. And I got to meet him. Gorgeous man. But when it hit, like when I would focus on Will, I was like, no, that's my man. That's him. That's him tonight. I'm taking care of him. Like that was it.
I love
like,
that.
I had more of a crush. That was like, that's my type of man.
This is amazing because it's like every woman is like, yeah, George Clooney's hot. Like,
yeah,
he's,
and he's a beautiful man. Like, he was really nice. A swoon, yeah. Women, like, you could tell, like, the women that were there were swooning. I was like, okay, here's your suit. Where's Will? You know, like, I didn't care. I was like, I gotta find Will. I want to hang out with my friend. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. He's like dorky, but his decorum and his personality, like, just made him look so much more attractive. Yeah.
Love that.
Mm-hmm. And then what would you say out of like all the places you've worked, what's been your top fave?
Oh, my top favorite place, like doing costumes and stuff. Oh my God, I'm trying to think of one big place that I was like, wow, that was really interesting to work at. I want to say, okay, it was this mansion that was allegedly a plantation in Monticello, Florida. It was a small town in northern Florida, like an hour and a half, 2 hours outside of Tallahassee. And what I loved about this place, it was beautiful. It was gorgeous. And it was like, you could see like remnants of its history and its owners like everywhere. Like there was the room of one of the owners who passed away years ago. They never touched her room for some reason. They kept all her clothes there. And she was such a refined woman. You saw all these like beautiful vintage dresses from the 60s and 70s. And why I like this place so much is because it was haunted and weird things were happening, not directly to me, but to a lot of my coworkers, like the producers, the sound guy. And every day it was so fun to go into work because the chisme was someone got haunted. It was like either locations, the producer, the sound guy, it circulated to different people. And there was this thing that like we had to take a shot if we would see the specific light of this one room in this house that would turn off. So the story goes that you're supposed to leave the light on in the former owner's room. And if you turn it off, that light will come on. It just would happen because every day we would come in, they would turn off the light. It would come back on. So we had a bet like with the makeup people and everybody else, like, we're going to turn off this light. We're going to drive away, but we're going to stop midway to see if this light turns back on. And we're all going to have to take a shot. You know, we're going to have to take a shot of tequila. I was like, okay, here we go. We're going to see it. And literally like 30 minutes later, it's like 2:30 in the morning and we're waiting for this damn light to turn on and we're about to hit it. We're like, this is not going to happen. The light freaking turns on and everybody had to take a shot and we were like freaking out because there it was, like, it happened right in front of us. And I was like, hey, there has to be a timer. They're like, no, there's no timer. Like every time we would close up, that light just turns back on when we come in. It was a haunted place. It was a very gorgeous place, but it was just, we made it fun. And it was really cool to hear the different types of stories of what people went through in that place. It was just insane.
Yeah. And in real time too. Like that just adds an extra like creep layer, but fun layer. And it's so funny. The whole time, my head, I'm just like, she just wanted to be able to see. And she was pissed you guys were turning the light off. She's like, come on.
Yeah, we were just so stoked that we got to see this in real time.
Yeah,
it happened, and yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, I think people think that's not quite rare, but that it really is pretty rare. Like if they try to think about these shows that are on TV and stuff, I think people forget, like, you guys, you included, of course, crews and stuff, you guys are all out there forever. Like, and then it's cut down into what, a 20, under 30-minute show because of commercials and things like that.
Yeah. I mean, those movies and those films, they could take years to make. And it's just, an hour and a half, a 90-minute film. And you're like, that took 2 years. Yep. For a 90-minute film. It happens.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I think what's cool is, like, this is totally like off topic. I feel like, especially for us getting to see a lot of background stuff with like Wicked and things like that and stuff, it kind of, I think in the younger generation is like putting into their brain, like, oh my God, this actually does take forever, because my daughter is obsessed with watching the behind the scenes stuff for movies. And she was like, oh my God, I was watching this and they said that Ariana Grande, they were at wherever they filmed the movie, they were there for like this long. I didn't know they did that. And I was like, yeah, dude, like they don't just do this one shot, my guy.
No, it is grueling. It is like, oh, come on, can we get the shot, please? I mean, there have been times where it's taking hours to get one good shot. And I'm like, I'm ready to go. I'm ready. Why am I doing this? So yeah, it's insane. That's why I'm like, I got burnt doing film. Like I really burnt myself out. Like the last film I did that I don't even know what happened to it. And it had like big names and it had a really good storyline. Like I got to work with a sleep paralysis demon. This guy was a 7-foot tall actor. He was from, I don't know what country, and it took him 8 hours to get in his demon costume. Like he had his own team, and we couldn't take pictures. We couldn't bombard him or anything. But after he got out, like I was able to talk to him, and I'm like, how do you do it? How do you stay in this for so long? He's like, you get used to it. You just accept it and you get used to it. And you just make sure that the check clears in your account. I was like, there.
If I was the sleep paralysis demon and had to wear any kind of like 8-hour process, I'd be like, okay, that check needs to clear like immediately. Like
it was insane. Like the amount of time they took, like he looked amazing. He looked so good. Like you're like, if this is what they really look like, then I'm done. I'm dead. I'm cooked. Like it was so realistic, but it was like, you could smell the latex and everything, but it was so good. I can't even imagine.
Right. You got to go nosebleed after a while too with that. Like, oh my gosh.
Exactly.
Just so much patience all around, but it's always worth it because like they always look so cool.
They
do.
Yeah,
oh my gosh. I love that. Well, speaking of movies and things like that, to wrap up the episode, we always kind of like to chit chat new releases coming out and what our guests are looking forward to. So we will let you start. What upcoming movie or TV are you looking forward to?
Oh my God, I'm looking forward to 28 Years Later. I really am interested in seeing what happens 28 years since the virus spread, the outbreak. Man, they're still going at it. Like these zombies don't die. And there was like a teaser. It looked like there was a Cillian Murphy zombie in there. I'm like, no, not him. But we'll see. It looked really good in the previews. Like, I mean, it was very chilling and haunting. Yeah. I
know. I'm looking forward to that one too. I remember when I first saw it, I was like, wait, is this really real? I want to make sure before I get excited.
Right. You're like, this fake one, you know?
I know. It's so crazy like that. We're just like at that time period in our life where it's like we could appreciate the originals and now we're old enough and we're going to still see the reboots and continuations and stuff. And it's weird and makes me feel really old, but I also love it. So
yeah. Oh yeah, not too long ago, I went back to the first one. I was like, yeah, this was so good. It was so scary. And I can't wait to see what happens. Yeah, looks really good.
Jess, what's your pick for this week?
I think like the thing I'm really excited about because I keep like getting teasers of it like online is I'm really wanting Wednesday to come out already. Like Netflix needs to give me a freaking date. Like I need to be like calendar this. I need to take a day off of work. And I'm just like, because one, the teasers have been so good. And I'm like, oh, these are, I cannot wait. And I can't wait to see it. The first season was so good. Like I had no notes and now I'm like, okay, what is 2? And I'm also very worried that because 1 was so good that they're like rush it. Like I don't want them to rush, but Netflix does. They take their time. Like the whole Bridgerton lineup thing, like it takes forever to get through. Yeah. So like, I'm just like really hoping it's amazing. I can't wait.
Oh yeah. I'm really optimistic about that one just because the first season was so great. I think I watched it like twice, but similar wavelength for reboots. I want to say I'm like a secret fan, but not really because I feel like it's probably not surprising. I'm really excited for the new Final Destination movie, Bloodlines. Listen, if you can't accept that these original movies are so cheesy and stuff, this one will be seems the same vibe. Just like let it happen. Just let it happen. Yeah. I don't want to hear this is not realistic. And I'm like, none of these, I mean, some are a little realistic, but like also not.
That's the whole premise of a lot of the franchise. Like it's like worst case scenario. Here it goes. You know, car wash scene. Good example. The car wash. I'm like, oh God, I'm done.
And I am like, I know I'm gonna just like internally die. I am not a body horror person at all, but I feel like because I watched The Substance, these movies keep like jumping out at me. And I was like looking at the Bloodlines, like IMDb, just kind of scanning it. And there's definitely gonna be a lot of body horror in it, or at least one section because it's like body modification in this like, I don't know if they're in a tattoo shop or a garage or what, but I'm just like dying already because there's like a thing pulling this guy's mouth and I'm just like, oh, ow, no. Grab my nose ring. No, don't do it. And then I can't remember her name, but blonde girl or the blonde lady, her daughter's in this one. the girl who was in like the first two. I can't remember her name.
I remember the name of that actress. But yeah, she was in the first two, and that's right because she does have a daughter. Oh, that's gonna be so interesting to see. Yeah,
right. Yeah, I saw an interview a while ago, and they were just like asking, like, "What advice did your mom give you?" I was just like, "Oh my god, what a crazy surreal experience! Like, you starred in this, and then now your kid is like, that's so weird. That's so crazy. Like, I think it was so fun." I think that'll be like so fun for them. I was trying to find her name, but I can't find it.
I mean, it is Bloodlines, so there you go. Makes
right?
a lot of sense.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today on Social Seance Society. So our listeners can find you and start checking out Haunted Thread. Where are we on social?
Yes, you could find it on Instagram at The Haunted Thread. Start following, look at the little previews, kind of get a good glimpse of who I'm going to talk about and build for. And you can listen to also Hollyweird Paranormal at Hollyweird Paranormal on Instagram and Facebook. And I'll be also posting series of The Haunted Thread on my TikTok. It's going to be at Haunted LA Girl. So I'm just testing it out before, I start making its own like social media stuff for it and see how it grows. But yeah, only time will tell. We're going to tell a ghost story one stitch at a time.
I love it. Amazing. Well, you guys definitely check it out. When you're hearing this, there'll be some content, it sounds like, out. So super exciting. Everything will be in the show notes. And with that, we will go ahead and sign off. And thanks for joining us this week. Bye.